Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of In Depth with Idaho State University Athletics. I'm Jerry Miller, and today we're talking with an assistant football coach at ISU, Coach J.B. Hall Jr. He is the coach of the safeties on the football program, and he's also the assistant special teams coordinator. JB, it's great to see you again.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Great to see you too.
It's been a while. We haven't talked, I think, since it was the 2019 season.
That's right. Yeah.
And we've already missed the 2020 season. So it's been a little while. I would have seen you well in advance of today if it were a normal season, but it's not. And it looks like football's going to start somewhere in the latter part of February. So let's talk about you first, Coach. As the title of this interview series is In Depth, we're going to find out all kinds of things about you, at least those things that you're willing to share. First of all, J.B. Hall Jr. What does the J.B. stand for?
All right. So I'm named after my father, obviously being a junior. My name is Joe Bernard Hall Jr. And I am just trying to live up to that name and leave a legacy for my son who also has the same name, Joe Bernard Hall III. And we call him Trey. So that's what JB stands for. Growing up, it's so funny. When I was in school, the teachers would call me Joe and I wouldn't answer because that's what nobody called me at home. So it's been good to kind of have a couple aliases and go by certain things that I want to go by. And certain people know me by JB, but a lot of people know me by Joe. And it's been a cool name. And I just want to live up to that legacy that my father gave me. So it's been great.
Mom and Dad called you JB?
Oh, yeah. Amongst other things.
That's great. Where were you born and where did you grow up?
I was born and raised in Boulder, Colorado. Really cool community, very outdoorsy type of place. Went to high school at Boulder High, which was a place where I followed my parents, and a lot of my family members went to Boulder High School. So shout out Panthers. I know they're getting ready to play some football here pretty soon. So, but yeah, born and raised in Boulder, Colorado.
How about the rest of your family? Siblings?
Yes, I have a little sister. Her name is Brianna Hall. She's a couple years younger than me and doing well, doing great things out in Texas. And it's just me and her. And then obviously my mom and my grandma are all in Boulder, Colorado, and a lot of my family is in the Colorado area.
That's awesome. You grew up in Boulder. What sports did you play when you were younger?
I competed in all three sports, with football, basketball, and track. I think my initial love was basketball, and then everybody else started growing taller and taller than me, so I had to kind of change that up. But I love football, basketball, and track, and that's what I competed in high school. Growing up in a coach's family, I was always on a practice field. My dad was a high school football coach in the state of Colorado for 20 plus years, literally growing up on the football field. And then, it was a transition from every football season into basketball season. And then after basketball, right into track. And there was no getting away because all of the people that my parents grew up with ended up being those coaches for my high school. So it wasn't like I could take a year off of anything. Which is completely fine to me because I love to compete. And so those were my main sports. I did dabble in wrestling one time. My dad signed me up. I was 8 years old. I went to practice. They put me in a knot, and I said, "Dude, where's the basketball?" After, so I played every sport, but not really.
What was your position in basketball?
I was point guard. Yep, I was point guard.
Did you play on the high school team?
I did. Yep, I did. Again.
And then how about track? What were your events?
Track, I competed in open 1 and 2. Didn't like it. Not that it was hard or anything, but everybody's really fast in track. So I was never up there with the leaders, but I did compete in long jump and triple jump, which I absolutely loved. And then I was also in the 4x1, 4x2 as the starter out of the blocks.
Well, you must have had a little bit of speed.
Had a little bit, had a little bit. Sometimes I tell my guys I still got it, but I could probably do one or two plays.
So if basketball, football, and track were your sports growing up, why did football be the one that you chose to play? Did you have a better proclivity for the game? You played college football at Adams State.
Yeah. Um, you know, as a young athlete, my dad pushed me to do a ton of sports. He wanted me to get the experience of feeling what it means to be successful, and not only just football, because he was a football coach, but in all those other things and opportunities where I could compete. Um, I fell in love with football, and it has an emotional attachment, and I have an emotional attachment to it, because of the things that and the people that you get to learn through this sport, and I get to teach every day as a coach. Um, it was one of those things where could care less how many opportunities I got to win a game, but it was the guys that I was doing it with. It was the guys and the relationships that I got to build, obviously through my playing career. And now through this coaching career, it's really about the people and about my purpose. My purpose is to serve through this game. And in order to do that, you have to have clarity of why you're doing something. So I want to serve. I want to help people achieve their goals. And that was the biggest thing that I learned through the game of football and why it's kind of stuck with me.
Well, we're glad you're here. How did you get into coaching?
As soon as I got done playing, which was 2012 was my last season, graduated in 13, I knew exactly, hey, I want to be a college coach. I think that has a lot to do with my coaches that I had the ability to play for when I was playing at Adams State. And I knew that I wanted to do it at a level where I can make the most impact. Now, growing up in a high school head or coach's house, I knew that there was a ton of impact that you could have at that level. So I didn't necessarily want to go in the high school realm per se right away. I did right after I got done playing. I did volunteer at a couple high schools in Colorado, got my feet wet, was really hungry about it. But I was just really reaching out to coaches in my area. And I was blessed and fortunate enough that the head coach at the University of Colorado at that time was Mike McIntyre, gave me an opportunity, being a hometown kid, not having any personal relationship with him, but he gave me a shot. And it was kind of history after that. I learned a ton of stuff from that staff and from him, in particular, about how to do things right, how to treat people, and then obviously a wealth of football knowledge that continues to be, handed down and taught based on what I learned from there. So that's exactly how I got in. It was a blessing. It wasn't that I had a personal relationship with him prior to meeting him that one day up on CU Boulder campus. But, after being in for a couple of years and really starting to build relationships, around the country and with people that I've worked with, it's just one of those things where, every day is different, and every day you take it with gratitude and honor, and you try to press that on the kids that you get to coach.
That's an awesome explanation. Now, tell us about your family. You mentioned you have a son, and I believe you also have a daughter, your wife. How did you meet your wife?
She's also an Adams State alum. She played hoops there at Adams State while we were there. She's originally from Santa Fe, New Mexico, and her name is Marissa Hall. She is an fantastic coach's wife. She deals with way more stuff than I probably even know. She is the head coach in our household, and so what she says goes. And we all just try to fall in line. Me and the kids, we just, yes, ma'am, here we go. what's the plan? What's the game plan for today? So she's a personal trainer. After getting done playing basketball, she definitely wants to coach and serve people, just kind of like me, and that allows us to be flexible wherever we go. She can obviously find a group of people and help them achieve their goals. So she's really got a servant heart as well. Extremely proud of her. And like I said, I got a son. He's 3 years old. And then we have a daughter who's about to turn 1 here on the 18th, born last season during the year. I was not there, and she'll never let me live it down, but that's okay. She is my football baby, and she is tough as heck right now.
I've got to tell you, Coach, years ago, broadcasting ISU football, one of my second oldest son, if I'm not mistaken, it could be my youngest son, was born just hours before kickoff at Holt Arena. And at that time, the hospital was across the street.
Yeah.
So I was there with my wife. The baby was born. Boom. I was over to Holt Arena and
Let's go.
off to work. I kind of know what you're talking about right there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So how has having kids changed you as a person?
Well, I think personally having kids is such a blessing, right? So having the ability to look down at somebody that looks like you, that their whole world revolves around you and how you are going to provide for them. I think being in athletics and being a coach, you realize the role you play in each of these kids' lives. So even before I was able to bring mine into the world, I always had guys leaning on me, looking at me, depending on me, to give them, whether that be confidence, to give them knowledge, to give them teaching, to be there for them to just cry on, whatever the case may be. I think I got a lot of experience looking and watching my coaches do that and my father do that. So even before I got the opportunity to bring them home, I kind of had that, I don't know, fatherly figure or things that I would go to. But now watching these two grow up, it's extreme joy. Every day is awesome. Every day is different. And there is a sense of dependency that I respect the heck out of. And I know that they're looking at me to not only, be disciplinary when need be, but also to just be there for them and love on them and teach them and honor them, just like my father honored me and my mother honored me.
As a father and a husband, what are the things that you want your kids to grow up knowing?
Well, I want them to grow up knowing that it's extremely important to serve people and to look for opportunities to serve people. I want them to know and love Jesus. I want them to respect authority figures, but I also want them to be able to have a voice, to be respectful, and to really, really leave a legacy. And I think you have to be intentional when you want to leave a legacy. I don't think you can just live life kind of like a leaf blowing in the wind. I think you have to get up every morning and have a plan to incite change, to impact others, and to, lead by example. And I think if me and my wife can do that in our household, then that'll mean more than winning any amount of games that I could possibly win as a football coach.
That's a wonderful plan as a father, and your kids are blessed to be in the home that they're in. I
wasn't there with McKenna when she was born, but obviously we got quarantined, so I got all that time to catch up. And it's such a crazy time of the year that was when this whole pandemic hit, but it was so relieving to kind of be at home and just to unplug and be there, and every day was different, and each day was a learning curve for myself, not just that.
Yeah, it hasn't all been negative. There have
Oh, no.
definitely been some pluses that have come out of this experience. Uh, let's get back to your coaching path.
Yeah.
You coached, as you said, you were at the University of Colorado. You've also coached at two big sky schools. You were at the University of Montana. You coached at Sacramento State. Um, tell me about how you ended up at each one of those places.
All right. So after I got done with my graduate assistant work, had the opportunity to interview at the University of Montana. That staff was just brand new there at the time in 15. And the head coach there, Coach Bob Stitt, was coming from the same league that I played in. So I had known him kind of from afar as an opposing player that played against his teams. I always remembered as a player that his teams were very, very disciplined, and they played extremely hard. So, having the opportunity to interview with him was an awesome opportunity. And it really got there through one of my mentors, who's Coach Jason Seymour, who's at Georgia Tech right now. I played for him at Idaho State. That was kind of the personal connection. And when I got the opportunity and took the job, it's one of the first things that I got there, and I realized that these guys are great people. And really, I've been blessed and fortunate enough in my young career to work at a couple of different places and work with a lot of different guys. And I've really enjoyed every single one of them. But I know for a fact that staff was really joined together, and they were a bunch of great dudes. And yeah, they happened to be really good at X's and O's and motivation and recruiting. And it was an awesome opportunity. Extremely blessed to get the opportunity to work at University of Montana for 3 years. Met a ton of great people in the community, and out of there, obviously, I met the connection with Coach Travis Niekamp, who was also our linebacker special teams coordinator at the time. He knew the guy that was the head coach at Sac State. So really, the coaching net and network is all about who you know and who you work with. So got the opportunity to shoot out to Sacramento, California after our time was done in Missoula, and that was solely based on the personal connection that I got to work with someone that the head coach there, Jody Sears, had the opportunity to work with previously. Got to Sacramento, never lived in a big city, and it was absolutely, a time of my life, even though it was, short-lived for a year. But again, great people, great coaching staff that really was in it for the right reasons. And I would never take a job that I didn't feel was a place where I couldn't grow as a coach, number one, where I couldn't bring my family into, number two, and then if it wasn't for the place doing it for the right reasons. So, everywhere I've worked, people have been doing it for the right reasons, and that's, the student athlete, that's building team, that's trying to leave a legacy that's beyond our coach's name. You know what I'm saying? So it's been really good. Really enjoyed our time in California. And then when I was at the University of Montana, got the opportunity to work with one of my really good friends, Coach Mike Ferreter, who is obviously our offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach. And that's where this relationship built and started to grow many years ago. So it's all about who you know. It's all about what those relationships, can bring in the future, and not even thinking about what's our next job going to be. It's building what we have right here, right now. And, if things happen in the future, then so be it.
It's interesting. You played wide receiver. Now you coach safeties.
Yeah.
At Idaho State, we've had a former Montana wide receiver coach the offensive line. What is it about guys that become coaches that don't necessarily coach the position they played?
Well, I think it's two things. I think it's, number one, having the opportunity to learn and grow. And then number two, having the people to give you trust to allow you to learn and grow whether that be in a new position or on the opposite side of the football. When I got to University of Colorado, the offensive GA positions were taken. There was no opening for me on that side of the football. Um, the defensive GA was open, so I had that opportunity to go and learn right away what defensive football and style and coaching and techniques was really all about. And again, shout out Coach Mike McIntyre, who's the DC at Memphis right now, for giving me that opportunity and letting me learn defensive line play. And then moving me the next year and letting me learn linebacker play. And then when I got the opportunity to go to Montana, my mentor, Jason Seymour, helped allowing me to learn what it means to coach in the secondary. And at Montana and at SAC, I coached the corners. Well, I think I have a lot of insight because I was a receiver and had the opportunity to, coach on the different other side of the ball. You can train your guys a little bit different. You can give them insight that they would never necessarily know if they didn't have that opportunity to either play on that side of the football or to be taught by one of the offensive coaches. So having the opportunities to learn those things and really hone in on my skills has, I think, given my players, the safeties, the corners that I got the opportunity to coach, great people, great men, a little bit more. And when you're in a game on Saturday, that's what you need to win, a little bit more. You need to make one more play. So with that knowledge, I think, it's been a blessing to help mold and shape the secondary and really the safeties here at Idaho State.
What is unique about coaching at Idaho State that you haven't found anywhere else?
Well, I think, one of the cool things, we can talk about facilities, you can talk about jerseys, Adidas, you can talk about, a lot of things, right? I think what's different about coaching here is that our players have a chip on their shoulder. And I think in our league, we could be looked at, as bottom of the pack, right? You look at the standings, right? You look at where we left off last year or the year before, right? Just barely missing the playoffs. These guys barely missed the playoffs 2 years ago, right? And I think those things affect how our guys work. And I think those things affect how our guys view themselves. And it's not in a negative way by any means. I think it's a motivation. I think it's something that's almost unsaid or almost, not talked about, because I think coaching at Idaho State, our guys inherently, I don't know whether that's, the Idaho people, the kids that we recruit that are from this great state, the state of Idaho, but I think we have a chip on our shoulder and we have something to prove. And, it wasn't always the case at the other two schools. So I think that's what's different, and as opposed to like things. And that's what it's exciting about being able to coach here, because we have a bunch of guys that are ready and willing to prove why they deserve the whatever, the admiration and again, we have to go do it at the same time. So, I think it goes hand in hand.
We're getting close to wrapping this up, Coach, and it's been a great conversation. What are you excited about? What brings excitement to you about the coming football season, crazy as it'll be, starting somewhere probably in late February, which just seems like everything's turned upside down?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think I'm extremely excited for the opportunity that our guys get to actually go out there and compete. There's been a ton of work that's been put in. Granted, it's always been done, up to the CDC and up to our medical staff. But I think there's been a ton of work put in academically at the end of last semester, whether that be through Zoom and teaching and coaching and learning how to adjust on the fly with this whole Zoom situation and this pandemic. But I think I am excited for our kids and their opportunity to go out there and compete and prove some people wrong, and it even might be themselves, because, I think there's a lot of things to be said when you don't get to be around the team, you don't get to be around your teammates, you don't get to have those weekly meetings like you would in a normal football season or have a fall camp. But our kids are working, and they might not being seen working, but our kids are working, and they're doing it the right way, and they're doing it the safe way. And I'm extremely fired up for them to get the opportunity to go out there and compete. Every day is a blessing, and obviously they're working, and I need them to get paid, because that's the greatest joy as a coach, is to watch your guys go out there and experience shared joy. I'm not even talking about touchdowns, not talking about W's, not talking about opportunities to go to the next level. I'm just talking about having fun and competing and celebrating with each other because of all the stuff that they've endured. As a football team, you kind of measured by how do you respond to things, right? On a Saturday, they might block a kick. How do you respond, right? You're watching football all the time, around this country right now that everybody's playing football. The teams that are doing great are the guys that are responding, not the guys that are, supposed to win. All right. So it's been good. They've responded the right way. They've done everything we've asked them to do. They've done more than we've asked them to do. And, that's the most exciting part as a coach is, when we get there, I think we're going to be ready. I think we're going to be fired up. And I think it's extremely important for them to go out there and show what they've been putting in.
JB, one last question. You also help coach special teams. What's it like to work with David Fiafia?
He is an absolute leader of men. I would follow that guy into any battle, anytime, anywhere. He does a great job being the emotional leader for our football team, and he does a great job teaching and has an awesome relationship with our players. Being part of special teams, you're not just solely talking to the running backs for him or just the safeties for me, right? Being a part of that is extremely important, that we have relationships with every position group and with both sides of the football, because we're constantly communicating. Special teams is extremely important to our head football coach. Special teams is extremely important to our offensive coordinator. Special teams is extremely important to our defensive coordinator, right? And then obviously that helps us game plan, that helps us use guys in certain roles that we can, elevate our football team because of their specific skill set, right? And special teams is a great opportunity for guys to not only prove to their teammates their worth, and their love, but it's also an awesome opportunity for young guys to get a ton of experience. Special teams is all about fundamentals, right? Fundamentals of football, right? Running, blocking, defeating blocking, tackling, right? If we're not doing those things well, whether it be on offense or defense, well, then how do we expect to be great special teams? So it's extremely important to everybody on the staff, and David does a great job game planning, putting people in place. Obviously we meet every week, but I really have enjoyed learning special teams football from him, and especially because our kids are so bought into our program and are so bought into the scheme that we are doing special teams wise. So it's been a really good working relationship with him. We're just fired up because we got some guys, a lot of depth this year, and we get these games that we get to play here pretty soon. And I think it's one of those things where we just let the gate open and we go for it. So been really cool to work with him and help him kind of take a little bit of load off him, because it's a lot of plays, it's a lot of players, and it's a lot in regards to how the outcome of the football game goes. Special teams is huge for us, and it's been an extremely awesome opportunity to coach with him and for him.
J.B. Hall Jr., safeties coach, assistant special teams coordinator for Idaho State University football. This has absolutely been an incredible opportunity to learn more about you, who you are, and find out exactly how blessed we are as Bengals to have you on staff. We're glad you're here, and thanks for taking the time with us today.
No problem. Wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
All right. For the Bengals, this has been another In Depth.